Hello folks, welcome to our first OMG moment. And Kirsty, what are we starting off with?
OMG, it's Excel.
Okay, right, so I want you to share your screen and let's
Okay.
show the people what you've got for them.
And then let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is about just a few OMG moments. Obviously, we'll do a bit more on Excel, but this is probably whet your taste buds. So the first thing is, and this is one of my pet hates, people don't use the control key enough in Excel. So it might be the case I want to make this, all these column headings and all these row headings in a particular format. So what I see people do at least is highlight the text and then they would format the text. What you can do is keep your control key pressed down and then select exactly what you want to format. And it could be some really odd ones, but as long as you keep the control key pressed down, for example, you could change whatever you wanted within this Excel worksheet. Now, obviously it's a bit random, but it gives you an idea.
So,
Excuse me.
so what was that, Kirsty? So you've used the control to do like a series of cells and then random cells, and then you can apply formatting to all of those all at once.
Yeah, yeah. And so they call it non-contiguous if we're really going to be pedantic about it. But yes, that's what it is. So I'm going to say no fill. I'm going to put it back and I'm going to put my text back to black just for a second. So going and thinking about the control key, again, this is quite useful because it might be the case I want to add up certain numbers. Now, a lot of people are not aware that if you look at your status bar and your status bar is right at the bottom of your screen, you can see me highlighting it. If I highlight a set of numbers, what that would do on my status bar is to come up with loads of bits of different figures with regard to the data I've highlighted. So you will see I've got average, I've got count, I've got numerical count, min, max, and sum. Now I can right click on my status bar and you'll notice here I've got all of these ticked. I don't have to have them ticked. And I will warn you, the first time you come into your status bar, you might find they're not ticked. So you might have to go in and say, actually, I want that, and I want all of that within my status bar. Now, thinking about the control key, this is where it's useful because what a lot of people do is highlight all of the data, then look at their status bar. But your control key will allow you to select, as we said, non-contiguous cells. But what that will do with all those numbers that you've highlighted, it will only then give you those totals, counts, mins, max, etc., just for those highlighted cells. Did you like that one, Mark?
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's really easy, isn't
Yeah.
it? Really quick, really easy.
I like the way you can customize what you see across the bottom as well. I think people are going to find that super useful. So, do they right click on there, choose what
Right
they want to
click.
see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be great, for like getting the total, especially for the totals or the sums. I think that's going to be excellent.
Yeah. Okay. Was that an OMG moment, Mark?
I think so. Yeah, so I like that a lot. I think there's two
Okay.
OMGs there for people. It's like OMG, the control button, and then the what you see across the bottom.
Okay. So the next one is really, I think it's basic, but a lot of people go, OMG, I did not know. Let me show you. So here at the search bar, a lot of people just have got used to search. So you go and search for a keyword or you go and search for keywords or a number. But what people don't realise is that, when you're looking, and I'm sure it happens to you, Mark, and it definitely happens to me, where you're looking for a particular icon and you just can't remember for the life of you what ribbon it's in, what tab, it just
Yeah,
can't find it. So what you can do is you can type in here. So if I literally click in here and type in the word bold, that will then show me the bold option. It will actually also allow me to find the word bold in the worksheet if I need to. It's found any files that I have got with the word bold in, and it also gives me any options with regard to getting help on that particular word. So if I go a little bit more complex and say, okay, let's look at data validation, if I can spell it correctly. What that will do is, again, come up with different options. But you'll notice here, I've got data validation, but I've also got it repeated. So just watch out. If you see an arrow, it means it's going to give you more options. Whereas if you go to the one that, for example, doesn't have an arrow, it won't give you more options. So you can type anything in the search bar, and that can even be an icon if you need to look for it. So really, really helpful. Do you remember that? I use that a lot. Do you, Mark?
no,
Don't? Oh my
no.
gosh.
I don't know what it is, Kirsty. for what I do, I just don't find myself going deep into Excel. I just don't spend a lot of time in it. In a previous life, I did my maths exams and the expert exams in Excel. I used to know it, but I just don't seem to. I just don't seem to go that deep into it. What I really liked there was two things. It was I want to just highlight the more button, that little arrow where you hovered over it and you get more options.
Yes,
It's really easy to. You're just going to show it up there, just one of those.
I was. It's
So
not going to do it now. It's typical, isn't it?
I think it's just validation, wasn't it? You typed.
Did I?
Yeah. So a few people's names popped up there. It's interesting. People's names popped up. I'm gonna have to
Oh,
block those. So
yes.
block all those out.
Yeah.
So folks, when you see some fuzzy bits on the screen, that's me hiding those people's names that have popped up. But yeah, so you see, really easy to overlook those overflow menus. But also, I like the fact that you could get help on us. So not just finding it, but getting help on a topic. So if I'm like, what on earth is data validation that Kirsty was talking about? I can look at the question mark down there and get help on it.
Yep.
Very good.
We like that one. The next one is flash fill. Now, some of you may have already used flash fill, but I still don't think people use flash fill enough. So I've just got a couple of email addresses. I don't think that is your email address, but it would be a good one for you, Mark.
Clearly, you've been hacked, Kirsty. Someone said Martin needs a haircut, and someone said Kirsty's wonderful on there. Do you need your security checked up because there's something wrong there?
Oh dear. So you imagine if I've got a massive column of loads of email addresses, because as we've said, Excel is about columns, it's about rows, it's about having loads of data in there. And yes, that you can, or what we used to be able to do is text to columns, which was quite good because it would split your text out your columns. Don't need to do that anymore. So it always goes to the column to the right, to the immediate column. So if there's any text in this email address that I want, so let's imagine I want Mark and I want Kirsty, that data or those names to be taken out of that email address and put into their own separate column. So when we do this, as I said before, it has to be the column immediately to the right. But if I type in Mark here, you will notice I've now got Mark. Now, again, obviously I've only got two. Imagine if I've got 300, 400, 500 rows. The last thing I want to be doing is doing this manually. So what we can do is we can use flash fill. Now, if I look at Mark now, I can then, for example, then go down and it will pick and understand the consistency that I've got Mark here on the left-hand side and I've also typed Mark here. So what it should do when I use the functionality of flash fill, that's now going to put Kirsty in. Now, obviously, I can go to the icon. I know the icon is hidden away here. Click onto the drop-down arrow and I do have flash fill. But going back, because it's good practice, let's use flash fill up here. As soon as I type in, I can't type today, Mark, sorry.
But we do these pretty early, don't we, before work?
Yeah. In fact, what is my name? So you should see that I've got flash fill here. So as long as I've got Mark selected and now choose flash fill, what it will automatically do is to fill in the remainder of the text. So as you can see, that was pretty quick. So I'm going to just do one other thing just to make sure that you can see that this works.
Kirsty, that is like witchcraft.
I know, it's really good. So I'm going to just do it as in I've taken need a haircut out from that email address, because it might be the case you've got other text out of the email address that you want. And I just want to prove the point that it does work. So let's click onto that once again. Let's go to the search bar again at the top of the screen
Kirsty,
and type in
Kirsty, can you show us the other way of doing it, the drop-down button, so we can see where that lives? Is that okay,
yeah,
mate?
that's a good question. Yep, you can. So let's go to that one and then flash fill here. And there you go. So as long as the text matches, if I put a spelling mistake in there, Mark, let's say need, I put an extra E in, it wouldn't have worked. Yeah. So it has to be correct.
Yeah, makes sense.
The only difference that I do like about it is that you can capitalize. So even though the email address is need a haircut in lowercase, I could, for example, if I wanted to, I still can't spell, put it in here, but I've capitalized it. Yeah. It will then work on flash fill on that one. But that's the only thing.
Let's see what it does to the next one. Oh, so that's interesting to me. So it's not case sensitive for what it's looking for, but it will apply the case that
Yes.
you did on the previous one. So what it's doing, so it's looking at, so that's great. That's great, because you're not having to put a formula in to extract it to say anything after. You're not having to say to it anything after the @ sign and anything before the full stop or the period if you're American. But I think that right. So that I think you might have peaked there, Kirsty. I don't think it gets any better than that. For me, that's as good as it gets. But who knows?
It's good, isn't it? It is
I've
good.
seen Kirsty do a gazillion of these sessions, folks, and but I can't be honest, mate. That's up there.
Yeah. Did you want me to do another tip and trick?
Yeah. Right. So Kirsty, my absolute favourite one. I don't know if it works in this. This might be a Word or a PowerPoint one that we do. But you know when you do the Control Shift and the up, you know when you move something.
Yeah, it doesn't work in Excel.
Okay, so folks, ignore that. We'll do that on another session. Kirsty, have you got one more for the good people?
Okay.
I know you could do this all day, but let's just do one more. I don't want these videos to be too long, or we don't want them to be. But let's do one more.
Okay, so the next one I really like is, and underneath my insert menu, you'll notice I've got Sparklines. Now, a lot of people think these are quite gimmicky. They're actually really, really useful. So a lot of us have used charts in the past, and that will give you a visual of some data that you've highlighted. So it'll give you a pie chart or a line graph or a bar chart, whatever the case may be. Well, what you can do is you can now have a visual only in one cell for a row of data. Let me show you. So the first thing is I've got this data here, and what I want is a visual of this data, but only in this one cell. So I'm going to go to my insert ribbon, click onto insert, and you'll notice now I've got this category here called Sparklines, and I've got line, I've got column, and I've got win-loss. So let's look at line first of all. If I click onto line now, it will go, okay, I understand your location range is where you are because I've got one cell highlighted, so it knows that's where I'm going to put this particular sparkline in. But what is the data that you're looking at? And it has to be the row or the numbers or whatever the data is, but immediately to the left of wherever you've highlighted. So in this case, I'm just going to highlight those numbers. Once I've done that, all I'm then going to do is to click onto OK. And as soon as I select OK, that puts in this sparkline, this line. Now, it is live. So what I mean by that is if I change any one of these numbers, see what happens to my sparkline. So it's a visual representation of those numbers. Now, I can also go to the bottom right-hand corner here, what we call autofill, and that will automatically fill in now the sparkline for the next row, the next row, the next row, and so on. And as soon as I let go, I've now got visual sparklines for all of that data. If any number changes, as we know, it will change that sparkline. Now, you don't have to have sparklines, so I'm just going to delete just for a second. So I'm just going to clear all that, and I'm just going to show you another sparkline. So again, I'm going to return back to the insert. Within insert, here's my sparklines, and this time we're going to look at column. So I'm going to click onto column. That's where I want the column sparkline to be entered. There is my location range, and I'm going to highlight all of those numbers. As soon as I do that, click onto OK, and then that gives me my columns, my bars, whatever you want to call them. And if I use my autofill in the bottom right-hand corner, I can drag that down, and I've now got that live sparkline for any of those numbers. Did you know that, Mark?
I only know it because I've seen you do it previously.
Okay.
But I only know it because you've shown it to me. Kirsty, a couple of things. Right, so if you click on one of those cells, can you change the colours on there? Can you format them by cell?
Okay. So you've preempted exactly what I was about to
sorry,
say.
mate.
So it's it's a really good point. So here you'll notice, because I'm in a sparkline, I've got an extra ribbon. Now, what a lot of people don't realise, as soon as you click away, that's disappeared from up here because you're no longer in a sparkline. So just make sure that you've highlighted your sparkline, then you can go to your sparkline ribbon. And exactly what you've just said here now, you can change your colours. So there's a whole range of different colours. The only thing you can't do is you can't change each one. Does that make sense? It has to be the group of sparklines.
Okay, yeah. So on the fly there, go back to that sparkline. So on the fly, could you change that on the top left-hand corner? Could you change that to a line? Like that's it.
Yes.
So
Yep.
just on the
So I can click
ah,
onto line.
okay. And with the columns, sorry, but I find this quite interesting. With the column I column, can you make that
Mm,
wider? Can you just pull that column out to make the sparkline bigger
yep.
and just?
Yep. And I
That's
could
fab.
also highlight all of my rows and also make them a little bit deeper. So then that has more of an impact.
Yeah, nice, nice.
But as soon as you click one, it does select the whole group of them. So whatever you do apply is going to apply to them all. But you can, for example, put markers in. So you can put a marker in for the highest point. So if I click onto high point, that highlights then the highest point. And then you've got low point and so on. So there's quite a number of
That
things you can do.
so that last point there from a getting the information to pop out and come to you. I love that last little tip.
Oh, there you go.
That's
Well, you can
excellent.
change even that marker then. So if you want that to be a different colour, then you can. So if I could say high point and I now want that to be blue or let's say yellow, that would allow you to change
Yeah,
that. So there's quite a number of things to
yeah,
do.
that's great. And then I bet you people could use this and then pull this out and put it in a presentation and make the data really visual. So I guess if you got data to show within seconds, you got a sort of nice visual to show people, haven't you?
You have. And then the very last one is, we mentioned as soon as you select one, it does select them all. And most of us may be aware of the terminology of grouping and ungrouping. So you will notice if you do come into Sparkline, you can ungroup. And if I then click onto ungroup, that's different because I can now select one Sparkline
Oh,
and just
okay.
change that particular colour. But what's just annoying, can you see you've got to ungroup, ungroup,
Yeah,
ungroup, ungroup.
yeah.
So is it worth it? I don't know, but it's there.
Amazing.
Okay.
Just right. So we'll put a strain here, and you probably can't do this. If you highlight all of those, is there any way? Can you
Mm.
right click and save them as a picture or anything like that?
No. I mean, the only
No.
thing else I suppose you
Yes.
could do is a snippet, for
Yeah, of
example.
course. Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I've just pushed my luck there, Kirst.
yeah.
Kirsty, those are excellent. I'm torn between those last two tips, which one I prefer. They're both very good. Do you have anything else you want to say to the folks before I start wrapping up?
No, I just think, we'll do more of these OMG moments, won't we?
Yeah.
And if people want to put in their own ideas to us, they're saying, can you explain a little bit more about this? I found it, but not too sure how to use it. Yeah,
Yeah.
bring it on, as they say.
All right, Kirsty, thank you very much. Folks, I hope you enjoyed that Excel set of OMG moments. Now, like Kirsty just said, if any of those you want to learn more about them, pop a note in the comment section for the video or for the podcast, and we'll reply with more information. Also, if there's something you'd like us to talk about, put that in, give us ideas, help us create these videos in a way that works for you. But for now, folks, we are done, and we hope to see you next time.